Joe Barry is gone. Finally. Not really finally, but, it was probably time for a change. Joe Barry is no longer the defensive coordinator of the Packers as of the time that I'm making this video. There is an option that he could come back as an assistant coach, which would be a little bit odd, but I think we're going to take a look at his final performance with the Green Bay Packers. And overall, the game was pretty much fine. The D-line played very well. The safeties had a very tough time. So Savage in particular did not have a very good game, and we'll look at that. But, overall, this final performance and the final stretch of games that Joe Barry called, it wasn't horrible, right? So the end of his tenure wasn't that horrible. He definitely had a few questionable calls in this game, which I will definitely explain and talk about my distaste about why he was calling the game that way, but you'll see that in the film, so let's dive in right now. All right, here we go. Play number 1 is going to be in the run game and also focused on the shifts. So we're going to focus on Slayton here in the middle, but the big issue are these shifts and motion. So you can see the slide already, and now he's got to slide back, and he doesn't do it, but he does a good job anyways of extending out this outside zone run, and he makes the tackle. But you'll see him essentially not see the cross back over, so he gets back into his gap, and then his eyes are so focused on the football that he's not going to see the return motion. You can see Wyatt telling him to slide over, which is probably a dangerous situation if he doesn't slide over entirely, but they do a good job of forcing McCaffrey to cut up field early, and Slayton's going to be there just to get the tackle. So, kind of setting the tone a little bit early on in the run game. All right, I know in the video that I had it yesterday, which is talking about the Packers offense and attacking quarters defense, here you're going to have quarters by the Packers. The problem is the 49ers are not going to challenge vertically, right? So if the number 2 goes vertical, it's supposed to be Savage who gets him, but that's not what happens here. And this is the painful dropped interception. So there you've got a motion, McCaffrey out into left side there, a very weird spot. And then no one challenged Savage vertically, so you see the in-breaker route. Ball is already out. Savage is eyeing it up and hits him right in the hands. And this is so disappointing because it is not the same type of play that he had in Dallas, right? Not the same coverage, but he had the instincts and the recognition to be able to make this play. He stepped in front of it and just dropped it. And that was the game there. I think if he intercepts that, that sets the tone for the entire game, just like his pick in Dallas set the tone for the entire game and put the Packers out to a massive lead. But that would be an oh shit moment to the 49ers if he had picked that. I don't think he really gets a pick 6 here, right? If we think about right here where he's supposedly intercepting it, I think someone's going to take a good enough angle to prevent him from getting 50 yards to the touchdown. But man, Juszczyk is probably there to make a tackle, but that one hurts. All right, here we have a pretty solid cover 3. So we're going to have Johnson heading up and taking the middle third. You're going to have Valentine on the opposite side, and then Jair taking the other third. So this is just pretty good coverage by the Packers. The one route that is open is probably Kittle, but even that is a little bit late. So the D-line is overloaded on the right side here, and then you're going to have Preston coming off the edge on the other side. But this is something that the D-line did a very good job of all game, and I'll be kind of paying attention to that in the later clips, talking about these bad throws that Purdy has. But here, they get good pressure. So Purdy is going to take his eyes off of the routes downfield, right? There's a little check release by Kittle down here at the bottom, but there's nowhere for Purdy to go. I think the read here is to try to get this dig route, the basic route in the middle of the field, but you've got Quay Walker there in the middle, so he's not going to release that, and then you start getting the pressure in his face. So he starts to take his eyes down, and he probably could have hit Kittle on this little return route, after the check release, but even at that point, it is a little bit too hard to make that throw. So just a good job by the defense up front. So there you got the motion at the start. And Brooks, good hands. Kenny Clark, good one-on-one push, closing the pocket, forcing him to take steps away. And a nice collective sack there by the D-line. All right, this next play, I just want to highlight Van Ness here. So, he hasn't played a lot throughout the season. He's played a ton more towards the end of the season, and he's shown progress. And he's going to be going up against an all-pro in Trent Williams, and his bull rush is going to be quite solid here. I'm not saying that this is going to force a bad throw, but this is a throw from Purdy that it's just going to be a swing screen out to the side where he's going to have one blocker. So Juszczyk is going to motion across, and then they're going to do that one-man blocker swing screen, kind of like the Packers did in the video that I showed yesterday. But here we've got a solid bull rush by LVN, motion across, a little bit of a stutter step, and just drives him back to the quarterback. And then you've got a little bit of a duck, just falling short of McCaffrey. And this is quite uncharacteristic of Purdy, but that's what we saw a lot early on in the game. Don't know if it was playoff jitters or something like that, but later in the game, the D-line does a very good job of forcing bad throws. Not saying this one was, but like to see the progress there from LVN against a very good left tackle. All right, next one, we're going to focus on Devontae Wyatt. This is what we really need from him going forward in the run game. Especially in this system, which obviously we don't have Joe Barry to worry about, but I would imagine they keep someone with a similar 3-4 system. You can see he's doing a very good job of extending his arm, right? So he's got his hand in this guy's chest. He's pushing him back, and that's going to give him vision on both sides. So he's showing on this side, so that's going to force McCaffrey to then cut inside. And because he knows that's going to be happening, this is going to be an easy shed for him for a tackle, right? And that's something that Wyatt has been inconsistent with throughout the year. He's shown flashes that he's able to do this, and he's improved as a run defender. But in a system like this, where you have a lot of two-gap responsibility, it's very difficult, right? So you have to make sure that he's not going outside, and then shed quickly, good hands, get his arm on him, and get a nice tackle. So very good job there, but he wasn't really consistent throughout the entire game. All right, here, I don't know how they messed up this protection, but you're essentially going to have Campbell as a free runner. I guess Purdy just didn't think that he was going to be a hot blitzer here, so they moved to the gun. And what I would really like to see here out of Campbell before the snap happens is please show some hustle. Like, he has a little bit of a stutter, and then he's just kind of jogging over. It does force a bad throw because he hits Purdy. But man, if he's just full downhill as soon as the snap goes, that is going to be an easy sack. And potentially a forced fumble because Purdy misses this protection. He doesn't see it coming. And if Campbell's just hustling slightly more, that is another big turnover. So you've got that one that could have easily been a turnover. This play could have been a turnover. Savage's dropped interception. It forces a bad throw, but man, the Packers had so many opportunities. All right, next play is going to be a cover 6 from the Packers. So you're going to have quarters, and a half. And this is just going to be a nice throw from Purdy. You're going to get good pressure on the interior, get pushed right into Purdy's lap, but he's just going to make a good throw on an in-breaker here on a basic route. Kind of like a wide and Dover. Not quite as wide as a wide and Dover, but definitely a Dover route because it was a little bit rounded. Not as sharp as a basic. But man, you're going to get good pressure on the inside here. Carl Brooks basically putting that left guard in the lap of Purdy, even making contact. Nixon isn't able to step in front. Savage has to make the tackle there. But man, Purdy made some good throws throughout this game. And even with that pressure in his face, he delivered. And then in the middle of the game, he's not necessarily going to make the same throws every single time. And I'll show that. Packers defense, they eventually do a good job of getting their hands up. And Purdy, he's 6'1", not the tallest quarterback in the world. But if you can get guys pushed back into his face and get your hands up, that's going to block his vision and make those throws tougher. All right, we've got more Devontae Wyatt in the run game here. He does a good job of shedding the block. He just needs to finish the play. And realistically, it is Christian McCaffrey. Does a nice job of shedding 55 there, but if you're going to shed and be that wide open to make a tackle on Christian McCaffrey, you have to do it. You outweigh him by a ton. But here is the snap very soon. Very good job of shedding. Gets him head on. You just have to wrap up. Gary gets under his legs, so he can't really drive, but still, you made the play. You just have to finish it, man. All right, close your eyes, Packers fans. We've got the touchdown to Kittle. We're going to see exactly what goes wrong here. And it's going to lie with a lot of responsibility on the rookie here. So this is essentially a cover 1 because you've got a blitz on the front side, but it's even numbers. And then you've got one deep guy it looks like he's playing a buzz at this point, but I wouldn't be surprised based on the leverage that Savage is playing, that Savage was expecting him to be over the top, right? So this is something that I'm not sure if it was something that was called or this is just a decision. To me, it just looks like it was a decision by Mr. Johnson Jr. here to try to make a play. He can see the eyes, right? The eyes of Purdy definitely looking that way. So he is going to bite on that hard. So just probably good tape study by the 49ers here to know that the Packers have some DBs that have aggressive tendencies. And then Savage, he has lost this already. Purdy's already turned his look upfield after he crashed down, and this is just going to be an easy throw with that separation between Kittle and Savage. So Savage was one of the lowest graded defenders by PFF, and it is very understandable why. Because one, he had a clear dropped interception. Here, I think I don't put the entire blame on him because he is covering George Kittle, and it looks like his leverage is trying to say that he thinks he has help over the top, and he just doesn't have help. And Purdy makes a good throw. Kittle's going to be scoring that touchdown. All right, just like I put special teams into the other video, here we've got a nice block by Wooden. So a long field goal attempt here for the 49ers. Yeah, they're kicking about from the 38, so it's a 48-yard field goal roughly. And you're going to have a nice push on the interior and nice vertical leap. Not really much of a vertical leap, but they get their hands up and block this kick. So Wooden does a very nice job there of knocking it out of the way. I do think, however, this kick is probably missed anyways, unless it does a miraculous, like, Mason Crosby type, bend around the post. But coming from that launch point, it hit his hand right about here. I mean, this isn't very accurate, obviously, but I feel like it was going to be wide left anyways. But it's a good job of him to get that hand up and block the field goal. So we can't entirely blame the special teams as a reason for a loss because, yes, we missed a field goal, but we also blocked the field goal, so we're basically even in that sense. All right, we're going to focus on Mr. KC, Kenny Clark. So he is right there. He's going to do a good job. This is an outside zone, and an outside zone is going to try to stretch the field. So these two guys are going to try to double team him. And then I also want to highlight Quay. So Quay, they do engage. They get this double here, but Quay is going to shoot the gap and try to stop the play, and that's going to force this double team to stop. And that's going to allow Mr. Kenny Clark to get freely because there's no way Kittle's going to get the leverage to stop a dude like that, and they get a nice stop in the backfield. So Quay's been improving over the last course of the season. Had some struggles in coverage early on, but seems like they had a more clear game plan of what they wanted to do with him at the end of the season. So shoots that gap and then is able to get in and join in with Kenny Clark on that tackle. So nice job in the run game there. All right, now we are going to get to the point that I want to make about the D-line. So I've mentioned this earlier. The D-line does a very good job of getting their hands up. So I mentioned it earlier. He, right here, Mr. Purdy, is only 6'1". If you've got guards that are 6'4", 6'5", it makes it tough to see anyways. And anyone who has played quarterback in their life with linemen that are that big know exactly how hard it is. I've only had to play quarterback a few times. I was mostly a receiver, but I had to play quarterback a few times, and it is hard to see over the middle of the field if you got some tall offensive linemen. So let's watch this pressure. It's just going to be a bunch of plays back to back to back. They're closing the pocket here and getting their hands up, and it's forcing these overthrows. So a lot of these plays where it seems like, oh, Purdy's just making a bad pass, a lot of it is because these guys up front, they get their hands up, makes it hard to see, and you have a bad throw as a result. So this is just going to be a series of plays. I'm not really going to stop anything and highlight it, but just overall good pressure by the offense. Overall good pressure by the defense, and it's forcing a lot of these bad throws. So here on the edge, you're going to get Gary moving up. He's going to get his hand just in the peripheral of Purdy, and this one could have been a near interception. So there is another missed opportunity for the Packers. Unlucky. We're going to get some more pressure here on the interior. Good job by Slayton, and that forces another bad throw. So I thought Slayton wasn't going to be this good in pass rush, but ends up doing a good job there of forcing a bad throw. Here you've got a twist up front. Preston Smith coming off the edge with those long arms. So you're going to have a TT twist in the middle. So that is causing a lot of confusion up front. And then Preston Smith coming off the edge, forcing a bad throw. Here we've got Slayton again getting pressure on the inside, and that is forcing yet another bad throw. And I believe this should be the last one that I have. Going to get some more pressure up front, pushing that pocket back. So just attacking the interior of the offensive line, which is weak. You got two guys there, hands up, right in his face. And I think the receiver ran the wrong route here, to be honest. I think it was supposed to be a corner stop. And he ends up drifting too far to the outside rather than stopping on that corner route. And he and Purdy are not on the same page, and that's going to be an incompletion. All right, next play is going to be a little bit of a communication issue between Savage and Owens. And it's going to be an impressive run and also impressive block. Let's just go back to the start here. So Savage, you're going to see he's basically wanting Owens to jump this route, right? He wants him to come up and take Kittle across the field, but he's going to notice it way too late, right? So you're going to focus on number 34 here first, and then you're going to see Savage is going to kind of peel off with this route that is crossing to the other side of the field. So that's the first action. There you go. You can see they've tried to switch, but Kittle is just a free runner. And then the next part that everyone saw is this little block up here. This is the type of effort that I'd like to see from the Packers, but man, Jawan Jennings driving Valentine all the way to the Gatorade table on the Packers sideline. And I know Jennings the entire game was just getting in the head of the Packers, but one, you get a missed tackle, so that's going to give extra yardage. Two, you get blocked all the way to the back of your bench. It's just not a good play by the Packers here. You know, easy stiff arm for Kittle. If you're going to tackle with your head down, can't see what you're tackling, then that's what you deserve. You get to get shoved into the grass. All right, close your eyes again if you don't want to watch another touchdown, but this is going to be the little pitch to McCaffrey. Good blocking by the 49ers, and you can see the lane that just creates, right? So he's basically one-on-one with Savage here, and this is why Savage just really had a poor game. He's one-on-one with McCaffrey, gets his arms on him, but that is not good enough. Ayuk probably could have been called for a block in the back here, but I think Owens is probably out of position anyways to make a play. Savage not going to win that. McCaffrey's already cutting. Makes the arm tackle. Ayuk comes in and jumps on his back, mainly because he has over pursued already. I don't know. Wasn't called. Ends up being an easy touchdown. I think the Packers give up a touchdown on that drive anyways, regardless. But hey, look at this. We've got more special teams. This is one of the things I mentioned in my preview. I was like, hey, sometimes these guys on the edge, they kind of over pursue, and that's going to leave some cutback lanes. So what do the Packers do? They set up a return right, but they're going to counter it and try to hit this long kick return. So we'll watch it from the other angle. But man, good block there. Ballantyne still going upfield, gets a block, cut back in, and damn. What a play by number 45 there to recover that fumble. That is insane. But here we go. Looking at the kick return lanes here. So you can see they are setting up for a return here to the right. And that's going to force these guys to close down. Right? Normally you want to maintain your lanes, but watch this side of the field and you're going to see that there's going to be some runners that collapse a little bit. All right, so you've got 45 that cuts on the inside here, and you've got some good blocks on that left side that causes a little bit pile up. Kicker just whiffs. And the cutback from Nixon. And my goodness, Wilson does a good job of diving in on that fumble and saves the Packers from disaster. All right, we got more Kenny Clark love. This is just great effort. I feel like he has a little bit more anticipation and effort than some of the linebackers. And he's going to be able to get outside and make a nice tackle on McCaffrey on this little screen out to the right. The defense is right, of course. Savage does a good job of avoiding Trent Williams, but man, Kenny Clark, huge effort there to make a play like that. This play is just going to highlight one of Owen's good plays. I've talked poorly about him a little bit this video, so I'll just highlight some of his plays in the run game. Granted, he is unblocked. He's able to trip up the shoelaces of McCaffrey there. So it wasn't entirely a poor night by Owens. Not necessarily his fault either, because he was kind of getting hung out to dry by Savage with that call to exchange on Kittle's big play. But nice play there. All right, it is time for Brock Purdy to just be an elite quarterback. There is perfect defense on this play. Probably not advised to make this throw. This is the route. Looking at it, he probably has an outlet here to McCaffrey, but he is going to take a shot downfield and make the perfect pass on this in-breaking route. All right, so you've got Jennings coming in on this in-breaker. The ball is here, and you've got a safety crashing down. You've got Valentine that sees the ball in the air. You've got Nixon who sees the ball in the air. If Nixon takes a yard step back, 2 yards back, this is going to be a guaranteed interception, but unfortunately, he just tries to jump vertically, and he fits it in a spot that only his guy can get it, and Purdy, in the fourth quarter, started to make these throws. All right, he started to be a little bit accurate with these. Pressure in his face, and just makes a perfect pass to Jennings, and there's really not much else you can do. That is, you are in position to make a play. Preston Smith is there. Quarterback is getting hit as he releases it. Gets the ball up and over. And just incredible job by Purdy there. There's really nothing the Packers defense could have done there other than take a step back before you jump vertically, and then you maybe break it up. Maybe you get an interception. Who knows? But you can't take any credit away from Purdy for making that throw. Incredible. And here we go again with another incredible throw. We're going to focus on Ayuk here at the bottom. His release is just great, and you can't really consistently ask Nixon to play here in press. As soon as you reach, it's too late. Gets a nice inside release, and Nixon is still there on him. That is a tight throw, and Purdy just nails it perfectly. All right, let's watch it from the other angle here. Purdy, good anticipation there. Sets it out in front. Nixon is there, able to make a play, but Ayuk just a better receiver, able to bring it down. And then here we have our hearts broken. The very last play of the Packers defense in this season, outside of the kneel down. I just am trying to figure out why they did this. Right, looking at this, yes, they're guarding the two A gaps, but this is going to be an easy first down, or easy touchdown rather. Even if they covered the A gaps here and they decided to do a quarterback sneak, which is what they're preparing for here, there's no one that's going to stop them on, I believe it's 3rd and short here. There's no one that's going to stop them. So here you have the motion over, and this is the other time that there's been a cover zero-ish type defense. The other one was when Johnson took the risk and broke down on the slant route of Ayuk, and then Kittle scored. Some people say that's cover zero. I thought it was more of a cover one, and someone messed up their assignment. But here you have a blatant cover zero, meaning you have no help over the top, so you have no safeties over the top, and it's going to be man across the board based on whoever comes out. So you're going to have Jair matched up with Ayuk. Owens is matched up on McCaffrey, and you've got Quay Walker, who's matched up with Juszczyk. Savage here, and then on the outside, you've got that matchup as well, right? So the reason you know this, we'll watch the play first, and then we'll watch it from the trenches angle. Owens can't really make a tackle with your back, and you can see the defeat. So if we go back here, we see that motion. That's what tells us essentially it's man coverage, right? So even if this is a pass play, it is man coverage across the board, and that is going to be hard for the Packers to defend. So I'm not really a fan of the call here to go man cover zero, because if this is not a run, if this is play action, right, and Quay is one-on-one with Juszczyk, right, what's stopping one Kittle from going underneath? Because Savage right now has outside leverage. So if Kittle gets underneath and this is a play action, that's an easy touchdown. And then if this is a flat route over here, right, if Juszczyk goes out to the flat, Quay then has to work through two people on this side in order to get out there. So it being in man coverage is forcing him to step outside to the C gap, essentially. And if we go back, the alignment was leaving the B gap wide open. And look at it right now. B gap is wide open. Owens trying to tackle without wrapping up, which is a constant theme. But you can see the B gap completely empty. Nobody there. All right, we're taking out these A gaps, which is great, but with it being man coverage and this shift moving him from the inside of the B gap to outside of it, that clears that entirely. So this is just poor defense by the Packers, and this is a very disappointing way to end the season. Just an easy touchdown, probably one of the easiest for McCaffrey in his career. And you can just see the defeat on the Packers players. Owens, hands on his head. Kenny, hands on his head. Slayton, hands on his head. And you've got a minute to try to come back. And as we know, that does not happen, that is the end of the Packers season. So that is not the way that the Packers wanted to end their season, not the way that anyone wants to end their season. A collapse to the San Francisco 49ers. You know, safeties, again, did not play very well. D-line, they showed some great things. So they shouldn't be entirely upset, right? At the end of the season, the defense really started to pull things together. They could have pulled this one off had things bounced their way, had they executed a little bit better in certain areas. And with all this young talent, they also get to start fresh with a new defensive coordinator. So I'm excited to see who they bring in. I am not sure who's on their list. You know, Jesse Minter would be amazing. Evero was one of the finalists last time, and he performed well in Carolina, despite their record being the worst in the league. That wasn't the fault of the defense, I can tell you that. So it's going to be interesting to see who they bring in. And I will be looking out for that. And then as soon as they do make a hire, I will definitely dive into what their system is and talk about it in a video. So speaking of that, off-season content, if you guys have any ideas, I know some of you have asked for draft videos on safeties and offensive line. I will get into that. And then also you've asked about the defensive concepts. There is another video. Someone replied to that comment already with a good link talking about the defenses that are sweeping the NFL. So I should probably put that in the description as well. That way you can see that video because it is a good resource to help understand the game of football. But I will definitely try to make those videos. So if you have any suggestions, please let me know in the comments, and I will see you guys in the next video. And of course, until next time, go Pack Go.